again with another video. Hope you're doing well. Hope your life's going well. Hope this week has gone well for you, and I hope that today has gone well for you. Um, I'm doing well on my end. I just got home from work about really like a couple hours ago. Really, work was good. It was about a little over 10 hours, or was it? No, about 10.5 hours. So it's all good, Just glad to make money, of course. Um, you know, regular old day, nothing too out of the ordinary. And it's crazy. I'm always thankful that I have ordinary days or days where I'm like same old, because when you have an extraordinary day, that can go one of two ways. Either it was a really good day or it was a really bad day. And so, well, let me rephrase. There's something happened to where it made your day really good, or something happened to where it made your day really bad. And that's what's like on your mind for like the rest of the day. But luckily, today is not like that. There's no issue that's like burning on my mind, you know, whether it's really good or really bad. So I'm always thankful for these types of days, because you're going to remember these types of days when you do run into a day where something extraordinary happens. You're going to be like, "Ugh, I wish this was a regular day." Well, you're only going to think about that when you had an extraordinary day in a negative way. If you had an extraordinary day in a positive way, you'll remember it, but you'll be glad that you're remembering it. And you won't really think like, oh, I wish it was a average or normal day or whatever. So, yep, thankful for these types of days. So, let's talk about the trucking industry. The trucking industry. I haven't really made a video specifically talking about the trucking industry in a little while. Let's talk about this past year, and let's talk about what I think is going to happen next year, right? The trucking industry in 2023, it was pretty rough. It was a rough year in trucking. And the reason why it was a rough year is because we just don't have the freight volume that we've seen in previous years. And that goes through majority of the niches in trucking. Dry van freight is down, flatbed freight is down. Refrigerated is about the same, of course, but that's because people have to eat. What else? Tanker freight, depending on what type of tanker freight you're hauling, that's kind of went down as well. Fuel's kind of been the same. But overall, it's just kind of been down. The freight rates have just been real low too, and that's caused a lot of companies to, especially a lot of smaller trucking companies, to go out of business, because when the freight rates are like really low, it creates a situation where you're just not really profiting. You're not profitable, and trucking companies out here just not profitable with the crazy low freight rates that we've been seeing all throughout 2023. Thousands of trucking companies have went under this year. Really over the past couple of years, really, because all of this really started once inflation started. That's when the rates really started going down, because 2020, 2021, that's when the rates were like really high. But once that inflation started coming up, the rates started going down, companies started going under, especially with the fuel. The fuel was like super high at one point back in like 2022, I believe. It was like super high, and it's gone down since, but it's still pretty expensive, you know. And so, you know, in trucking, you have to remember fuel is gonna be usually like one of your biggest expenses you have to account for. Um, Diesel fuel is already pretty expensive. And you have to remember these trucks, these semi trucks, the fuel tank is like over 100 gallons. And so, you know, and then also too, you're burning like, you're only getting, you know, 6-7 miles per gallon. You know, these trucks really burn fuel. If you're lucky, you'll get 8 or more gallons, 8 or more miles per gallon if you're really lucky, and if you know how to really run efficiently and you have a really good truck. But average 5, 6, maybe 7 miles per gallon you're getting. And so, yeah, that fuel, it can really add up. And when you don't have the freight rates to offset that and create a situation where there's positive cash flow, that's how you go under. And that's how a lot of companies have went under this year. And so, just an unfortunate situation. A lot of guys who were owner operators have had to become company drivers. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Don't ever let anybody say that there's something wrong with being a company driver, or someone is so much better because they're an owner operator. Like, don't fall into that mentality. I think there's people who are good at being owner operators, and there's people who are good at being company drivers. There's people who don't want to be an owner operator because of the added expenses, and there's people that do want to be an owner operator and are willing to take on the fact that there's expenses and everything that, you know, that you have to cover. And so, like I said, there's really nothing wrong with either choice. But yeah, that's kind of what's been going on in 2023. 2024, I think that the trucking industry is going to, the future of the trucking industry really depends on how the economy does as a whole. I've heard some predictions that the Fed is going to cut interest rates in 2024, which would be a step in the right direction for the economy. I've heard housing prices have been although they're high, they've been pretty stagnant. You know, they haven't been going up like crazy like they once were, but they're still pretty high. So a step in the right direction would be the Fed cutting interest rates, and that could be a positive sign, because when the Fed cuts interest rates, that makes borrowing easier. And the thing is, too, a lot of people really aren't selling their homes, too, and that's another thing, because who wants to go out and pay, who wants to have a 7 or 8% mortgage interest rate versus the 3% interest rate that they're locked into already? A lot of people don't want to do that. And so that's another thing. So I think overall it's going to depend on the economy. If the economy gets even worse, then the trucking industry is going to get worse. As job losses accumulate, like these companies are like laying people off. The tech industry has got hit really hard with layoffs, by the way. But if companies still keep laying people off, then what's going to happen is the trucking industry will have a profound effect, especially in the dry van world, you know, because a lot of like, you know, what do you call them? A lot of like just things that people buy are on dry van trailers, like consumer goods. I think that's what they call it. A lot of consumer goods and just household items and stuff that really you could go without is shipped through dry van trailers. So I think the dry van sector of the trucking industry will really get hit hard, as it's already been, if the economy continues to do bad into 2024. But something that'll probably stay stagnant is the refrigerated trucking sector. People are gonna eat regardless. Flatbed sector will probably take a hit too, because simple fact that construction equipment and stuff gets shipped through flatbed trailers. A lot of wood, you know steel, just a lot of construction type stuff is shipped through flatbed. And so that's going to get hit really hard if the economy's not doing good, because then the economy's not doing good, a lot of construction is going to be halted, you know depending on where you are in the United States, though. Kind of depends on your area. But that'll get hit. Tanker, depending on the type of fluid being hauled. I think gas and diesel won't really get affected, but other chemicals and stuff that's used to make certain types of goods and stuff, that might get affected as well. Um, I don't, just all types of stuff will get affected. Yeah. As far as those four major sectors of trucking, it wouldn't be a good thing. It wouldn't be a good thing. And the thing is, too, I mean, it's been more difficult than it's ever been. Well, not than it's ever been. It's been more difficult now to get a good trucking job than it's been in a while. Back in 2020, 2021, companies were hiring like crazy. They needed drivers because, you know, everything that was going on then. But now, 2022 and beyond, well, really, I'd say really this year mainly, it's been a lot harder to find like a good trucking job. I mean, you can always find a trucking job, but it's a matter of, is it a good trucking job? Does it pay good? Are the benefits really good? It's hard to find, and is it local? That's the biggest sector of trucking that's affected job wise. It's hard to find a good, solid, high paying local, sorry, a good, solid, high paying local job in trucking in the year 2023. It's just been a lot harder. And so, 2024, it could go either way. Oh, and want to remind you all too, it's also an election year in 2024 as well. So you just never know. It's always something happening during an election year, it seems. And so who knows what the Fed's going to do? Who knows what Congress, politicians are going to do? You also have to watch some of these laws and stuff that are being passed in regards to trucking. I think one thing that they were looking at was governing all trucks at 65 miles an hour, and that wouldn't be a good thing at all. That would be a crazy idea, because all that's going to really do is create more traffic jams, You know, you're going to have one guy that's going to take 20 miles to pass the other guy. Those of y'all who are in trucking know exactly what I'm talking about. Somebody's going to be camped out in the left lane for 20 miles trying to pass a truck that's going half a mile faster than the other one, due to the fact that maybe one truck is loaded and one truck is pulling it empty. You know how that goes. And then all of a sudden the whole interstate is blocked off. As in, you can't get around these two trucks going 65 miles an hour, even though the speed limit is like 70, 75, because one guy wants to pass the other, and none of them want to let up on their speed a little bit. Just silly stuff like that is going to happen a lot more if they did that. That's just one example. There's other examples too. I can't think of them right off the bat, but yeah, yeah. I think trucking, like I say, could go either way. Election year, you don't know what's gonna happen, and you all know how I feel about these like elections and politics and stuff. It's I'm not really big into it, but who knows? We'll just have to see. 2024 is going to be interesting. I really do hope that the economy gets better, but what I will say is that if it doesn't get better, then it wouldn't surprise me. You have to remember the direction that the overall economy is generally going in. And the overall general direction that the economy is going in is automation and outsourcing. At least here in the United States, companies are wanting to save money every which way they can. Companies are wanting to increase their stock price in every which way they can. And if they can get rid of hundreds of people and have some sort of computer AI do the job, they're going to do it. They're going to get rid of all them hundreds of people, and they're going to have that robot doing those jobs. If they can outsource hundreds of jobs overseas so that they don't have to pay them a wage that they have to pay over here, they're going to do that. Because guess what? They're saving money. That's going to raise their stock price because they are they have to do whatever makes the shareholders happy. What makes the shareholders happy? Raising the stock price. How do you raise the stock price faster and faster? You cut jobs. You send jobs overseas. The only thing about that, and of course I disagree with that, I think it's crazy, because what you have to think about is the fact that eventually that's going to catch up. The economy is going to catch up to that sort of activity, And what I mean by that is when you have so many people getting laid off, right? You have so many people getting laid off. You have so many jobs being outsourced overseas. You're going to eventually get to the point where you're going to have so many people without jobs here that without like a universal basic income or some sort of like program or, something like that, economy's really going to fall apart, because people just aren't going to have enough money to do basic things, and there's going to be so much competition for so little or so few jobs out here. It's going to be crazy, and so if the government was to step in and actually do anything for we the people, what they should do is probably limit automation. But hey, that's just a thought. What do I know, right? But anyway, we're at the 20-minute mark. I really do thank y'all for watching this video. Um, like I said, I'm trying to get more consistent. I'm really trying. I'll probably upload something before the weekend, so stay tuned for that. But like I said, I hope you all were relaxed by this video. I hope that you also kind of think about these things a little bit, especially if you're in the trucking industry, because I do have a pretty good amount of people that watch these videos that are in the trucking industry. Shout out to you all, by the way. Trucking, we got to stick together as truckers, right? We got to stick together. Yeah, it's kind of rough, but hey, we'll get through it. But of course, I'm glad, no matter what industry you work in, I'm glad that you all are watching these videos. And yeah, that's about it. Anyway, thanks for watching.